So we give, I would like to give the floor to Secretary General Roberto Montella for his report, who is, how you said, he is like a new broom, right? Is this the word? Yeah. So let us know what you did. Thank you.
I didn't know about these new skills, but I'm ready to develop new ones. First of all, allow me to say thank you to our host, to the speaker, to Deputy Speaker Renata, to the Secretary General, but in particular also to Biljana. Normally these assemblies are organized by a parliament, but there's always one person. We had Mary, the Secretary of the Delegation in Georgia. Here we have Biljana, who takes all the phone calls, all the hard work. So a special tribute to Biljana. You've done a great work, and thank you very much for the welcome that we've received here. I lived in Kosovo and in southern Serbia in 1999 to 2003, so I used to come to Skopje very often, every weekend. It looked like Paris for me at that time, to come to Skopje from Kosovo and Bujanovac. But I've seen the remarkable changes that this city has encountered. I was also here in 2014 for the elections, and things are evolving very fast. So I wish also your country great progress in the future and good luck in the 11 December elections, where Batelli and Azaiguliev will be here on behalf of the Parliamentary Assembly with a big delegation. I have distributed my report in written form to all the Parliamentary Assembly delegations on Monday to trigger questions, maybe suggestions, criticism if necessary. And I've also distributed in Vienna the Permanent Council so that also governments could have it beforehand. This is something that is unprecedented, but it's in line with the spirit of transparency which I would like to instill in this organization. And it's also to allow a greater scrutiny of the work that the International Secretariat is doing. As you've heard me saying already in Tbilisi, in Vienna before, I'm trying to depersonalize the management of the International Secretariat and trying to institutionalize it a bit more. And I think this is very timely and necessary. So I will only focus in my report on two main aspects and then maybe leave the space for questions or suggestions. One thing is the main focus is on the financial reform of the organization. The first phase until July, we worked on the code of conduct for the staff. We worked on new rules for our staff. This was not existing. We didn't have rules for our staff. Now new staff has new contract based on these rules. We've used mainly the acquis that exists in the OSCE and also in other parliamentary assemblies organizations. We've done it together at the management level of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. We've presented to the Bureau. The Bureau approved it in April. And now our staff is working based on new contracts, based on these staffing rules. Now the second phase is the introduction of new rules on the way we administer our finances. You've heard for many years that our accounts are in perfect order. This is indeed the case, thanks to the work of Kurt Leras, of Gustavo. However, the auditor always audits the accounts of an organization based on some basic rules. Our organization doesn't have financial rules and regulations. What it has, the way it is today, it's the word of the Secretary General, let's say. So if the audit comes to me and says, how did you administer your accounts during this year? What are the standards? I say what are the standards. And the auditor says, fine, okay, if these are the standards, according to your standards, your accounts are good. I think we need to depersonalize this process. I think that the Standing Committee should adopt a set of guiding principles, a set of rules that guide the work the International Secretariat administers its funds. It cannot be left to the honesty or to the goodwill of whoever sits in this chair or to the goodwill and the honesty of Gustavo or Kurt. It has to be a kind of check and balances, but it comes from a set of rules that you have established. So what we're going to do until March, together with a new financial officer that has just joined us, it's Predrag Radenovic here, we will elaborate a set of rules and regulations on financial management. We will again look at the way the OSCE is conducting its finances, but also at the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe and NATO in particular. and propose together with the Treasurer a set of rules for the Standing Committee for adoption, hopefully either in Vienna or in Minsk. And then from that moment onwards, those rules will be the basis on which we will conduct our finances. And then you will have a set of criteria against which you can adjudicate whether the International Secretariat has done its job properly, and the audit, of course, or the independent audit that you might want to choose, can say, yes, the International Secretariat has managed the finances in strict adherence to these rules. This is on the financial aspects. You've mentioned salaries, you've mentioned also the legal personality of our staff. These are all things that, of course, we hope to achieve. I think first we want to do due diligence within our own budget. We want to really study well how we have structured the budget in the past. You might find that the new budget that Treasurer Barnett will present in April at the Bureau might have a different construction. Now you have a very detailed lines on the annual session and maybe one line on election monitoring activities. We will try to re-elaborate the way we present the budget. Doesn't mean we will change the figures of the budget, but we will give you a bit more detailed budget so that also it's easier to provide scrutiny and to provide, and it's easy for you to provide scrutiny, but it's easy also for us to have a greater understanding and a better and a more efficient management of our resources. So that's on the administrative side. The other part of my efforts has been an ongoing activity in trying to reach out to our partners in the OSCE, but also with NATO PA, Council of Europe, European Parliament. I must say that, as you've seen, the cooperation with the the Secretariat in Vienna is excellent. This is not only thanks to our good personal relationship, but it's also because we've come to the conclusion that the point is not just cooperation for cooperation. I mean, nobody is against cooperation, but you have to cooperate because it's better and it delivers better result on some specific action. And you have taken my talking point about Turkey, but this is exactly an example of how we can cooperate. So there is an issue, the coup d'etat in Turkey. There is an activity that the OSCE wants to carry out, and then the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, the OSCE Secretariat, the ODIHR, the freedom of the media, consult each other, talk to each other, don't coordinate each other. There is nobody who is in a superior position of coordinating the other. It's just individuals who have respective responsibilities and mandates, which use common sense, discuss, what do you think, shall we do this, shall we do that, and then carry out a message to the authorities in Turkey, which is a message which is somehow shared with other institutions of the OSCE. And for us it was a great pleasure to have President Mutonen deliver a message to Turkey on behalf of the Secretary General who was invited, but also on behalf of the ODIHR by suggesting, for example, the use of trial monitors in the aftermath of the coup d'etat. So this was a typical asset that the organization has, and it's seated in the ODIHR, but we don't shy away by simply suggesting to the Turks to use a tool that exists in the ODIHR. We don't need to put an OSCE-PA flag on every activity that we do. We also use the OSCE-PA vehicle to promote activities of the organization. This is, I think, is what also is contained in Canerva's paper. This is what I have received as kind of your feedback. This is what you want the Parliamentary Assembly to do, is also to promote the activities and the acquis of the OSCE in these countries. On election observation, for years, we've had a long struggle. I mean, we can be very open here with the ODIHR. I will be very concise in saying that the struggle was between some who were for a very strict orthodox interpretation of this famous Copenhagen Agreement of 1997, which basically said the Parliamentary Assembly is in charge, the ODIHR does some technical work, but then the Parliamentary Assembly comes in, the ODIHR might not even speak in a press conference, and our special coordinator takes the floor and takes away. So this was the orthodox implementation of this cooperation agreement. Then there's been for 17 years a practice which has been established, of course, because the ODIHR from 1997 has developed a greater infrastructure, has hired the new professionals, has developed the methodology. So the established practice in 17 years has been that we had a struggle with the ODIHR for 3-4 days before an election and in the day before. Then we would come to an agreement, thanks to the efforts that maybe Ambassador Montella or others who were on the field would manage to come with the ODIHR, because we said it's more important to find an agreement rather than coming with two different statements. And then the 3 weeks after an election, we would have demarches to the CIO, to other institutions complaining about the fact that there was not a strict adherence to this famous cooperation agreement. So de facto, there was always an agreement at the end of the day, but before and after, there was lots of sore feelings, lots of fights, lots of disagreements on how things have been conducted. Also here, we've used common sense. Michael Link, the director of ODIHR, myself, the Secretary General of NATO PA, of Council of Europe, we have all sat together. I've invited them in Helsingør, in Copenhagen, and we have had 2 days, a very informal discussion on how we can improve the final product of election observation. What is important in election observation is that we make good recommendations for the country where we observe the elections, and that the citizens of that country see that the international community is united in sending a message to the authorities and to the citizens. So we thought, this is the priority. It's not the priority that my institution, rather than the one that you are temporarily leading, has a greater visibility or less. So we thought, let's discuss on how we can make this product better, more efficient, and so that when we go to a country, instead of arguing on who speaks first and who speaks second, because this is already regulated. It's clear that the Parliamentary Assembly has a leading role because there is an agreement that the chairman in office appoints a leading member, appoints the president, or a leading member of the Assembly as a special coordinator. So this is undisputed. Nobody is trying to take this away from the Parliamentary Assembly. So as this is undisputed, then why don't we just get rid of all these tensions and difficulties with the ODIHR and focus on what we are there for. This has been totally welcome, of course, by the ODIHR, by the other Parliamentary Assembly. Somehow, so they were a bit surprised that this would come from us. But I think this is the spirit that I got by talking to many of you from July last year. You've always told me, look, Robert, let us move on and let us focus on trying to deliver concrete messages in these missions rather than always being engaged in demarching this or this other organization with our complaints. So I think this is good news, and I hope that we will enjoy your support. And I wish, of course, all the best also to all those who will have a leadership role in the elections that are to come. We've had 2 already. We've never had in the history of the PA 7 elections and possibly 2 by-elections, so 9 electoral activities in a period of 2 months and a half with the people who are here. That's it. I mean, they go from one mission to another, organizing, and you know what it implies. So it's a lot of work, but we don't complain. We do it with pleasure. We try to service you with the maximum of our skills and capacity. I'm not going to lead you through all the activities that we've done from July to today. They are in the report. Juste un mot en français. Avant, pour remercier les interprètes qui travaillent ici. On les remercie toujours à la fin de la mission, mais c'est important de dire un mot de remerciement avec eux. Aussi, la délégation française. Je voulais remercier Monsieur Néry qui a laissé le bureau cet été, mais il a donné une grande contribution à notre bureau, surtout en les questions de finances. Sa suggestion sur les cotisations est encore vivante dans ma tête, et peut-être on va trouver une façon aussi de travailler avec lui dans le futur sur ces questions de finances. Je voulais remercier aussi M. Voisin qui était avec la délégation française de l'autre côté du monde, en Russie. Ils l'ont observé, et en ça remerciant tous ceux qui ont travaillé aussi dans la mission en Russie, mais le commitment, la passion que M. Voisin y a mis en partant de l'autre côté de la Russie pour observer les élections est vraiment commendable. Je l'ai fait l'autre fois a Vladivostok, je sais ça veut dire quoi. Anche una parola in italiano per ringraziare l'onorevole Lombardi per il lavoro che ha fatto nella migrazione. Ovviamente questo è un lavoro importantissimo. la cosa che mi sorprende nel suo comitato è che di solito noi abbiamo difficoltà a trovare membri per partecipare a una conferenza o un'altra. Nel suo comitato c'è la lotta ad entrare nel comitato e la lotta a partecipare, quindi bisogna trovare modi di selezionare la partecipazione alle diverse organizzazioni, alle diverse visite che lei sta organizzando. Quindi grazie mille per il suo lavoro e grazie anche alla delegazione italiana, non c'è l'onorevole Picchi qui, ma lo dico al professore, al senatore Compagna, grazie per aver ospitato ovviamente la delegazione a Catania e per aver organizzato un'ottima visita. Also, one word of thanks to Mr. Guminski, whom I met yesterday. Mr. Guminski, you have given us great support for this organization of the Minsk session next year. Our team will visit you, I think, in November, but we thank you also very much. I understand that you might not be in our assembly in the coming months, but you will be anyway close to us. So I thank you very much for your contribution to this assembly, but also for having taken my offer already last February of organizing this meeting in Minsk. This is very much appreciated. And last word to to Lord Bones. I totally support the idea that you have in terms of putting together some ideas on how the Parliamentary Assembly can better engage also with the other institutions. We have to be extremely careful, of course. It doesn't have to be seen as a tentative of oversight of the Parliamentary Assembly on the work of the institutions, but as you said, you've given us a task to make due diligence, and so we will do so immediately with the institutions. We'll try to find a modus vivendi that is, of course, workable with the Permanent Council and with the institutions, but the idea is that the parliamentarians want to show support to the work of the institutions and the missions, so we will make sure that the message comes across in that way. And final word of thanks to President Canerva for his vision paper. I've seen there have been many suggestions, many ideas on how to improve the work of the Assembly, and I appreciate all of those who have taken the time to give us some suggestions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Roberto, for your effort to bring structure and rules into the system. This is one side. And then I want to stress that following your report, I can say that whenever I talk to people, you work as parliamentarians, you work as parliamentarian diplomats, if you want to say, is very, very highly appreciated. So thank you for that. There is, yes, Kent Hostet, you have the floor.
First of all, I want to thank our Secretary General for a good report. I think it's well structured and easy to follow, and I also think you cover a lot of different subjects in a very clear way. Of course, at this opportunity, I also want to thank your staff for doing such a great work for us. I have two things. First, I just want to confirm what you talked about. I think with many words you describe what we are feeling in the field today, that it's working very well together with ODIHR. I felt it in Belarus this year and last year. It's working excellently, and we don't have any issues any longer. I think we left that behind us, and it's good that it's working like that on every level, and we are meeting friendly and professional spirit on the ODIHR side. So all that's been, I feel it's gone out of our system. I hope forever. So this feels really good. I just want to finally say something, that when we have our summer meetings, I have had an idea that maybe we should try to invite and follow up the election observations with also having some kind of hearings. What happens after? Because today we're working closer and closer together with ODIHR. We are trying to deliver the final reports together with ODIHR. And maybe after some time, maybe we could, to our summer session, invite the foreign minister or another minister of a government who received the final report, so they can also tell the Assembly something about how they are progressing in the recommendations. It would be a way to continue, I mean, friendly pressure, you could say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lord Bones.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I just would like to thank the Secretary-General for what he said on behalf of the Rules Committee, for what he's just said about taking forward the proposals for improving our relationships with the OSCE and the its institutions. When I say improving, I mean you have made it, the Secretary-General has made an incredible contribution at the administrative level, and I think we want to see that reflected at member level. I also like to thank him really for the work that he's done on both the Code of Conduct for the staff and on the financial regulations. These are things which are not glamorous, but they are essential for an international organization of this size. They take a great deal of work, a great deal of commitment, and at the end of the day, as the Secretary-General says, he's here to serve the members. There's a flip side to that. The members have a responsibility. So we need to be interested and supportive of what the Secretary-General is doing in that connection, even if it's not a high-profile political activity. It's essential to enable those other things to take place. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Azai Guliev.
Thank you, Madam President. Of course, I'd like to also join in thanking Secretary General for his hard work and the efforts that he put forward to increase the capacity of our Secretariat. And I do believe that the Secretariat is in safe and robust hands, because the reforms that has been started by Secretary General is very much promising. First of all, the rules for financial management and budgetary issues is very much important. Of course, I think this will be another opportunity to give more transparency and accountability to the Secretariat. The budgetary issue, as you know, that has been discussed for many years in our standing committee, in the Assembly. There were some, different approaches and a different, criticism. But it is really appreciated that, Roberto, you have already started to change system. We are very much looking to considering the formula that you are going to submit, or the draft of the rules in our coming sessions, particularly, hopefully it will be taking place in Copenhagen or in the Bureau meeting in Copenhagen. So this is the one thing. Another thing is, of course, what you said concerning the coordination of activities, different players of the observation election. As you know, that we all are very much interested in having the single approach, having the single unilateral system of observation mission in all the countries, in all the participating states. So the idea to bring all this, particularly ODIHR, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, NATO Assembly, Parliament Assembly, and you didn't mention about the European Parliament's special representative for the election issues. So this is good sign from your side, because we all have to support this idea to have some cohesion, to have some common approach. We have the single methodology and the single system where we can really enjoy the results of the elections, the result of the work that is being done by our appropriate institutions. Another thing is, of course, which is very much appreciated, that you could able to increase the better coordination among the different OSCE institutions. Particularly, I very much appreciate that the director of the office of the OSCE joined to the official visit that we had under the leadership of President Mutonan to Turkey. It was one of the examples. And it shows once again that how really we could be able to come together, to combine our common efforts in the best interest of our organization. So this is very good example. So lastly, Mr. Secretary General, I'd like to thank for your personal attitude. You, at the beginning of your report, you said that you are looking for depersonalizing the Secretariat. I like very much this word, because you have proved that how you are constructively approaching to others, how you are interested in having the close cooperation with the other members of Assembly, particularly with the members of Bureau. I think this behavior of managing, the way of leading the Secretariat should be continued. I really appreciate and looking forward to working closely with you. I think the Standing Committee and all the members of Assembly will support you without any hesitation, and I am looking forward to you to see how you will be prepared the draft that you promised us to change the budgetary system and the financial administration in the coming months. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have one more comment. Geir Bekkevald from Volt from Norway, please.
Thank you. I will also thank the Secretary General and the staff for the good work for this organization. About your activity, I also want to thank the Secretary General for the initiative you took when you invited ODIHR, the Council of Europe, NATO PA to this informal brainstorming meeting about election observation in Denmark recently. I think we always should strive to improve the way we conduct EOMs, since it's a very precious activity. So I think this was a very good initiative from your side, and it seems that this informal meeting got a very positive outcome compared to what my colleague from Sweden said about his experience in Belarus. And I look really forward to serve as a head of a mission in Moldova in the end of this month. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Roberto, you want to say something?
There's no more comments.
No.
Okay, well, basically I just want to thank all those who have taken the floor. There are not there's just words of support, so I appreciate it very much. I just wanted to mention at the end of my statement that, of course, all of this is done together with my colleagues. I mean, we are doing this very closely at the management level, Gustavo, myself, in Copenhagen with Ambassador Montella in Vienna. But of course, all of this is the result of work that we do together with all the other 20 members of the staff. We have introduced traditional meetings between us. We consult each other on issues. It's, as I said, a little depersonalizing the International Secretariat and trying to pull out the best of each person that we have on the staff. You have seen, Mr. Lombardi, I mentioned it yesterday, the work of Farima in the Migration Committee. Farima was working as a receptionist up to January. So my intention is really try to pull out the best of each person in the Secretariat and do as much as possible due diligence on the budget. In 1 year or two times, I hope that once we've done our homework, we will come back to you and also try to reach as much as possible the levels also of remuneration and conditions that the OSCE Secretariat has, which is, as you've heard from the Secretary General, still much lower than other international organizations. But for us, this will be at least an objective. So we will use the next year or two to do our homework in humility and in close cooperation with the Standing Committee, with the Bureau, under the supervision of the President and the Treasurer, and hopefully we will deliver good results. Thank you very much.